How are we all? I hope all is well. My name is Sachin, and this is the Total Cricket Podcast, episode 6. So, just before the podcast starts, if you'd like to check it out, we're on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, and you can find all those links on the Twitter page. But now, let's get into the podcast. Just a quick point before we start the podcast. I won't be talking about the first test between South Africa and England until it has finished. I believe that with a test match, the game ebbs and flows so much. Things change so quickly in a test match over the 5 days that I feel like I need to see the end result to really get a good grasp of what happened in the match and really to form an opinion. So hopefully you can wait for that. But yes. So I'd like to start off today talking about the fifth ODI between India and West Indies, a comprehensive win for India, winning the series 3-1. And what can I say? West Indies batting once again hopeless. A mere 200 runs. Nowhere near enough. India dispatching them with ease. Virat Kohli getting 100 in a chase once again. And that's all she wrote for the series. Very comfortable for India. A few things that we can take from this series is that for the West Indies, their batting is making it very difficult for them to compete. We see now that you need to be able to score 300 plus to be competitive in ODI cricket now. That doesn't even guarantee you victories. But the fact that West Indies struggle to even get to 250 is a huge problem. A huge problem. Their batting just doesn't have the quality. I don't think it has the potential to score those big scores. And that is a real problem for them heading in to potentially the 2019 World Cup if they do make it. The other thing for the West Indies is that they are playing on pitches that you do not see anymore around the world. Slow, low pitches where it's very difficult to score quickly. Now, you look at where the next few big ICC events are going to be played: England, India. In those countries, you get hard, fast, true batting tracks. The West Indies are not going to be prepared to take on those conditions. They will not. These are completely opposite conditions to those. And when they do tour England later this year, in a couple of months, I think they're going to be in for a rude shock when they come across those pitches. Because they just have not played on those types of pitches. And England is going to absolutely bully them because West Indies won't be able to score whatever England can score. Now, the bizarre thing about this all is that the West Indies do not seem to understand the concept of a home advantage, putting out slow, low pitches against a subcontinental team. I don't think the West Indies Cricket Board got the memo that this was a home series. It is bizarre when you see around the world teams abusing the home advantage to great lengths. It just makes you think, what on earth are the West Indies doing? The decisions they make continue to set them back. At least give yourself a fighting chance. What is your strength? Your fast bowling. Why not provide pitches that have a little bit of pace and bounce on them? Not these slow, low tracks that makes you play characters like Ashley Nurse, a mediocre off-spinner. It boggles the mind. But I guess with the West Indies, is it really that surprising? So yes, for the West Indies, not much to take from this series apart from the continued evolution of Jason Holder as an all-round cricketer, and to be fair, Shea Hope, probably their biggest plus point in the batting. Still not consistent, but at least he has shown a bit of fight in this series. For India, I don't think they can take too much from it, apart from Ajinkya Rahane being a backup to Rohit and Shikhar Dhawan opening the batting. When you have a guy like Ajinkya Rahane as a backup, wow, you've got some batting depth. I don't think he'll be in the first 11, but to have him there in reserve, India are absolutely blessed with batting talent. I think that looking at India, they are a very dominant team. Their bowling too is decent. It was good to see Mohammad Shami back, picking up 4 wickets in the last game. I thought Kuldeep Yadav was excellent in this series, bowled economically, took wickets, and having that Chinaman bowler, that X factor, that slight mystery, I think it's important for India to use him now and not just play Ashwin and Jadeja, but pick, I would say, Jadeja and Kuldeep. I think Ashwin is actually the third choice out of all those three players now. So I think that's good signs for India in terms of having a little bit more penetration in the middle overs with their spinners. But yes, India looking good as they have been for a while. That's really all we can take from this series. But I think I want to talk about one other thing. Virat Kohli with his 28th ODI ton, 17th in a chase, a record already. He's 28 and he's already broken the record for the most number of ODI centuries in chases. Unbelievable. The guy nearly averages 55. He's got over 8,000 ODI runs and he's only 28. He turns 29 in 4 months. I believe that he will be the greatest ODI batsman ever by the time he's done. He may not score the amount of runs that Tendulkar did, but the sheer dominance of Kohli has been just remarkable to watch. A guy averaging 55 in ODI cricket is unbelievable, even in the modern time when you do have these bloated scores. It's absolutely incredible. He is the Iceman in the chase. Incredible, incredible player he is. I believe that he will be the best ODI batsman ever. I'm sure he'll score at least 15,000 ODI runs. Remarkable, absolutely remarkable. Just enjoy his batting in ODIs. Just enjoy it, is what I say. It is quite breathtaking, quite breathtaking. I think to seal that title, winning the World Cup, and you would think in 2019 they have a good chance. Winning the World Cup in 2019, I believe, would seal that title for Virat Kohli as the greatest ever ODI batsman, because Tendulkar did win a World Cup. So I think if Kohli also won the World Cup, that would be the clincher. I know Tendulkar has such an aura; he's a god in Indian cricket. But just look at Kohli. I mean, incredible, incredible ODI batsman. I'm not saying he's a better Test batsman than Tendulkar. He's got a long way to go before he proves that. But ODI cricket, he is well on the way. So yes, congrats to Virat Kohli again. What a player. What a man. Just enjoy his quality. The only 2020 of this series will be played today. Should be interesting with Chris Gale coming back into the fore. Also, you've got Samuel Badri coming in, Sunil Narayan, Marlon Samuel. So a few more experienced campaigners for the West Indies coming to the fore. For me, what's the point of Chris Gale playing 2020? Is it to please the Indian Masters? Is that it? Because it's very frustrating for me to see this with West Indies. Why is he playing this 2020? Why couldn't he play the 2020s against Afghanistan? That to me, picking and choosing, I am not a fan of that. And that is what the modern game has become now, picking and choosing. I know Gale has his injury issues and he's 37, he's old. He's an old man. But it just doesn't leave a good feeling in my stomach, really, to see this picking and choosing. But yes, at least he is playing a game for the West Indies. It will be interesting to see who comes out on top on that game. A fairly meaningless game, as per with all bilateral international 2020s, but that is the world of cricket in which we live. But now on to the Sri Lanka Zimbabwe series. The third and fourth ODIs have happened in very quick succession, and wow, things have got interesting. The series is tied at 2-all, going into the fifth one tomorrow. Wow, who would have predicted this? Absolutely unbelievable stuff from Zimbabwe. Just a quick recap before I go into some analysis on this. The third ODI was a pretty comfortable victory for Sri Lanka in the end. Zimbabwe doing pretty well, getting 310. Hamilton Masakadza, he was coming under pressure recently, hasn't performed, but he came to the party with the second fastest century by Zimbabwe in ODI cricket. Great stuff from Hamilton Masakadza, winding back the years there. Good stuff. Good to see him play well like that. I thought Tarisai Musakanda as well was quite good for his 40 odd, and I believe that he should anyway play instead of Ryan Burl. He looks like a nice player, and he's been touted as a player to come into the team for a while. So I think Zimbabwe do need to persist with Musakanda for a bit. But yes, good effort from Zimbabwe to get to that 310. I thought that, again, the Sri Lankan bowling left a lot to be desired. Not great, really, at all. Harlinger, a shell of his former self. Sundercan, very poor, very erratic. Duan Pradeep, going off injured, only being able to bowl 6 overs. Sri Lanka's best fast bowler, that was certainly a problem. And Wanidu Hasaranga did pick up a few wickets, although he did go for runs as well. But the batting in the end did the business. Dhanushka Gunatilaka and Niroshan Dikvella getting their maiden ODI centuries. Great stuff by them. And it was at Canter, Zimbabwe. Don't really have the firepower with the ball. It was pretty inevitable from quite early in the chase what was going to happen. In the second game, bizarrely, Angelo Matthews decided to bat first, despite all 3 games going to the team chasing. Nonetheless, Sri Lanka had a great start. Dikvella and Gunatilaka getting another 200 plus run stand, a record. The first time a pair has put together back-to-back 200 plus run stands in ODI cricket. So congrats to them for that. Excellent stuff. Dikvella with back-to-back ODI hundreds. Gunatilaka getting a nice 80. But 35 overs in, 10 wickets in hand, and Sri Lanka only managed 92 off the last 15. That was shocking. It's been a problem for Sri Lanka for a while, not getting enough runs in the back end. Matthews, Taranga, both not being able to get away, particularly Matthews, 42 of 40, wasn't good enough, and that is really what cost Sri Lanka. Zimbabwe, great stuff from them. Even with the weather, they were looking comfortable. Craig Irvine, fantastic innings. It was looking a bit dodgy there a few overs into the chase after the rain delay, but he really sealed the deal. Craig Irvine with some good sweeping, good hitting down the ground. Good for him. He was under a bit of pressure, but we all saw his talent there. Well done to him. And what can I say about it? Again, Sri Lanka's bowling exposed. It's not really good enough. Malinga, a shadow of himself. Sundercan, very poor, going for 45 off 3 overs. Wanidu Hasaranga did pick up 3 wickets, again proving to be a wicket taker. But yes, some things that we have learned from these 2 games. For Zimbabwe, they, unlike the West Indies, have that potential to score 300 with the bat. And that's what you need to be competitive in ODI cricket. They scored 2 300 scores in the first 3 games, and in this game, you would have probably backed them to chase down the 300 if the game was not rain. There wasn't rain to disrupt the game, which is a huge thing for Zimbabwe. And I actually need to change my mind. They've been stacking their batting, and I think, you know what, for good reason. Their bowling doesn't have any firepower. It doesn't matter who you play, their bowling is very weak. They rely a lot on part-timers. Solomon Mire, you got Sean Williams, Sikandar Raza, Malcolm Waller. To be fair, Malcolm Waller bowled a great spell, 2 for 44 off his 10, but half their overs are bowled by part-timers, which is very archaic. It's a primitive strategy, prehistoric even strategy, but you know what? It's worked because they play 8 batsmen, they know their strength, and they just back the batsmen to get whatever they need. And that's exactly what the batsmen have been able to do. They've got some decent batsmen, I must say, throughout that order. I think it's good for Zimbabwe. Look at Zimbabwe. They lost to Afghanistan 3-2 in the recent ODI series. They lost an ODI to Scotland. They lost an ODI to the Netherlands. Actually, it wasn't an ODI. It was a List A game. But nonetheless, they've been losing regularly to associates. But now to win 2 games in Sri Lanka is a bizarre turn of fortune. I think it is as much down to Zimbabwe as Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's bowling is shockingly poor. And also, as I mentioned before, extreme conditions, these flat pitches, leveling the playing field, reducing the gap between the teams. But I got to give credit to Zimbabwe. I think the way they're running things now is better. I like Tatenda Taibu, the chief selector, Heat Streak, the coach, Lance Klusner, Makai Antini. Those guys are doing good things. I like the personnel they've got there. Imagine if they could lure back some of the players they've lost to the system. That is what they really need, I believe. But this is good for Zimbabwe, regardless of what happens in the last game. It's a really good thing for them because they were becoming irrelevant in cricket. But this has brought them back right back into the limelight. Great for them. I'm very happy for them. But is it going to lead to anything substantial? That's my question. As I said, in the new financial model, they're not getting as much money as the other full members. The ICC needs to help them out as much as they can. And the problem is that the way these bilateral series work is that teams don't have to play Zimbabwe. So the top teams just don't want to play them. Monetary issues, obviously, but also there's a clear gap in quality. But if you bring in the ODI League, bring in the Test Championship, like I know that Zimbabwe are not supposed to be part of that, but then you at least give them regular Test cricket against Afghanistan and Ireland. And hey, when people come to tour South Africa, your warm-up game can be a one-off test against Zimbabwe. So I think that these structures would help Zimbabwe. But yes, I really hope things can get better for them. I'm happy that there's at least some light at the end of the tunnel for Zimbabwe. As for Sri Lanka, what can I say? I think that the batting looks good. I think this top six must be persisted with. You look at Dick Bella, Gunatilaka, Mendes, Taranga, Matthews, Asela. That top six needs to be persisted with. You've got Kusal Pereira and Dinesh Chandimal waning in the wings as well. There is some strong batting there. It has performed quite well, but I think in the fourth ODI, a problem that has haunted Sri Lanka for a long time came back to bite them, and that is not getting enough runs at the back end. And for me, the biggest reason for this is the lack of 2020 cricket that they to play. You don't see Sri Lankans playing in the IPL. You don't see them playing in these domestic 2020 leagues. Sri Lanka doesn't have its own domestic franchise tournament. They don't have a franchise 2020 league in Sri Lanka. So you don't get overseas players coming in to lift the standard of the domestic 2020 competition. And add to that, all the international players, they don't get the chance to play much 2020 apart from the internationals because they're so busy. They simply don't get enough practice. And we've seen how 2020 has changed not just 2020, but all formats of the game. Batsmen have a much wider repertoire of shots. They're able to play all around the wicket, able to hit balls that are pitched anywhere, and they have such confidence to hit the ball anywhere. And I think this is a problem for Sri Lanka is that they haven't evolved. The batsmanship hasn't evolved in this way. And it's a problem that can only be remedied by getting their act together. The board actually create a franchise 2020 league where the international players can play and develop those skills. They need to develop those skills. I remember Mahela Jayawardene talking about playing 2020, playing in the IPL. He learned all these different strokes to improve his game. Kumar Sangakkara became a much better ODI player later in his career. They learned from playing in the IPL. These things help these players. Now the Sri Lankan players don't play in the IPL, and it's really hurting their batting. But there is positive signs in the batting. It's the bowling that's a real problem. Now, in the Champions Trophy, I was critical of the defensive mindset of Sri Lanka, not playing enough proper bowlers, playing too many part-time bowlers. Well, in this series, they've gone more aggressive, which I've liked. In the third ODI, you had Lasith Malinga, Nuwan Pradeep, Dushmantha Chamira, and Lakshan Sandakan, 4 frontline bowlers playing. That's a very long tail, by the way, but nonetheless, 4 frontline bowlers. And even in the next game, when you had Asitha Fernando coming in for Nuwan Pradeep, 4 frontline bowlers still could not do the job, still could not keep Zimbabwe from getting the runs that they needed, still couldn't take wickets in the middle. Now, this to me tells me that no matter what way you skin it, Sri Lanka simply don't have the bowlers. Now, I look at the bowlers individually. Marlinger, he is finished. We have to accept this, that the guy is way past his prime and he really shouldn't be in the team based on his current performance. Number one, he offers nothing with the bat. He's the worst fielder in world cricket. He goes for runs and he doesn't take wickets. He's taken 2 wickets in this series and his economy rate is over 6. Now, that's not good enough. He doesn't provide anything apart from some experience off the field, but on the field, he's not offering anything. Nuwan Pradeep was injured. He's the best bowler that Sri Lanka have. Dushmantha Chamira is all fast. He doesn't have any nuance to his bowling. The frustrating thing about guys like Dushmantha Chamira and Lairu Kumara is they are Sri Lankan. They bowl predominantly in Sri Lanka. And on these pitches, just being fast is not going to cut it. You need to be smart. Sri Lanka's best fast bowler, Chaminda Vaas, bowled 125, but he was so canny with the way he bowled. These guys just run it and bowl fast. Where's the nuance? You need to have a bit of variety to your bowling to succeed in such conditions. And it's very frustrating to see that these players don't develop. Once again, where is the development in Sri Lankan players? They all seem to stagnate at the international level. It's very frustrating to watch. I look at the spinners. Wanindu Hasaranga's taken 8 wickets in the 3 games. Good on him. He's not even a frontline bowler, but he has variations with his leg spin, and being a leg spinner, spinning it both ways creates that doubt. He's definitely one worth persisting with, but it's difficult to judge him still after only 3 games. But he is someone that offers a bit of hope. But the one that's a real problem for me is Sandakan. Now, I've been very vocal about picking leg spinners. He has performed poorly in the last 2 games. There's no getting around it. He's been dreadful. Sandakan has provided some great performances. He took 7 wickets in his debut test match against Australia. He took 4 wickets in his debut 2020 against South Africa, and he took 4 wickets in that second ODI against Zimbabwe. He's had some great match-winning performances, but he's also been a liability at times. Now, he does not offer you the consistency, the control that other bowlers do, that other leg spinners in the world do. Imran Tahir, look at how well he controls the innings. Rashid Khan has the ball on a string. Sandakan is very erratic and looks like a real confidence bowler. Now, the problem for Sri Lanka is they don't have any good off spinners anyway, so they're in a real mess. Persist with Sandakan because he's a wicket taker, but then he goes for a lot of runs in some games and is a complete liability. So it's a very difficult spot for Sri Lanka because the spin bowling is incredibly weak in the ODI team at the moment. It's very difficult to say, but for me, persist with Sandakan. Give him that last game. See if he can turn it around in the 5th ODI. Because honestly, the off spinners, one, they're anyway less threatening to begin with, and 2, Sri Lanka don't really have a good off spinner who is eligible to play ODI cricket, obviously, with Rangana Herath having retired. So yeah, really, Sri Lanka's bowling is so poor, and that's what's going to hold them back for a very long time, I believe, in ODI cricket, not taking wickets in the middle. But yes, it's going to be interesting to see the last game of this series. I honestly don't know what's going to happen. I guess you could say whoever chases will win, and I'm sure that Angelo Matthews this time will bowl first. Bizarrely choosing to bat first, I really couldn't understand that. But hey, I can't understand a lot of things about Sri Lanka cricket in the first place. But yes, moving on to the final topic of the day, and that is the Women's World Cup. The 4th round of group fixtures has taken place, and well, a lot of predictable results, it must be said, have happened in the last game that was played in the round. The West Indies getting comprehensively beaten by New Zealand. Once again, West Indies batting capitulated. No 50s in the innings. Very, very poor. They simply have not adjusted to these harder, faster, bouncier pitches. Leah Tahuhu and Leigh Kasparek doing the damage for New Zealand. And then Susie Bates and Rachel Priest, the openers, getting the job done outrageously quickly, destroying the West Indies. I believe that after the first few games, the West Indies were psychologically bruised, and I don't think that's helped them. But yes, they are looking down the mire here, almost certainly eliminated from the competition. Very disappointing for them. New Zealand looking good. looking very nice indeed, bouncing back after that defeat to Australia, and they are definitely still in the hunt for the semi-finals. But yes, going on to the next game, Australia thumping Pakistan 290 on the board. Elise Perry, Elise Villani, and Alyssa Healy all getting 50s. Alyssa Healy and Elise Villani particularly with some big blows, scoring at over 140 strike rate, the both of them, to really kill Pakistan. And then Pakistan with the bat, pretty feeble, 131 all out. The spinners doing the damage for Australia, Ashley Gardner, Kristen Beams, and Jess Jonathan getting the job done. Australia looking dominant as they have all tournament, and Pakistan once again just don't have the firepower with either bat or ball to really fluster to compete with these top teams, and they are certainly looking down the barrel of elimination. India versus Sri Lanka. India getting the job done just, although to be fair, it was fairly comfortable, but at the end Sri Lanka added a little bit of respectability to the scoreline. Dipti Sharma and Mithali Raj getting 50s to get India to 232. Good bowling by Sripali Virakodi. Good to see a fast bowler from Sri Lanka bowling well. She got 3 wickets. But yes, Sri Lanka could not chase it down. Once again, the lack of firing power, apart from Chamri Atapattu letting them down. She only got 25. The rest of them could not get there. 216 they managed in the end. And the funny thing is that they actually got 76 runs off the last 11 overs to really add a little bit of shine to the score, but they've never really had a chance of winning in this chase. Once again, they don't have the batting firepower. If you can't chase 230, there's a few problems. I know it was a sluggish pitch, but clearly there is a lack of firepower amongst the Sri Lankan batsmen. India's bowling did the job in the end. Poonam Yadav, the leggy, getting a couple of wickets. Julian Goswami, the highest wicket taker ever in women's ODIs, getting a couple of wickets. And yes, India continue on their unbeaten run. They are 4 for 4 and looking certain to get into the semis, much like the Australians. They are really putting together a fantastic tournament and have announced, I believe, their arrival on the scene as a dominant power in women's ODIs. Now, on to the last game of the round, and wow, was this a crazy game. England beating South Africa by 68 runs, England amassing their second 370 plus run score of the tournament. Who said women's cricket wasn't exciting? Unbelievable stuff. Tammy Beaumont and Sarah Taylor both getting 140 odds. Congrats to Sarah Taylor after all she's been through. She has come back with an absolute bang. Great to see that. And yes, England absolutely dominant there. A 275 run partnership between the two. Unbelievable stuff, a record in the Women's World Cup. And South Africa with arguably the best bowling attack in the tournament got absolutely demolished, but it was a very good batting pitch, admittedly. I think they did quite well to get to 305 in the end, chasing Laura Wolfhard, Lizelle Lee at the top, getting a couple of 50s. Lizelle Lee, one of the most powerful hitters in the women's game, hitting a couple of sixes. Chloe Tryon, 54 of 26. How about that? Explosiveness down the order, but I would have to say too little, too late for South Africa. A valiant effort, but still a comfortable win for England, who are looking very good now after that blip in the first game against India. Looking at the points table, Australia and India on 8 points each, both almost assured of the semis. Then you've got this logjam in the middle here. South Africa, England, and New Zealand. England on 6 points, South Africa and New Zealand on 5 points each. I believe that 2 of those 3 will make up the other semi-finalists. One of them is going to miss out. Now, that is difficult to see. I don't think any of them deserve to miss out. They're very good teams, all of them. But I think that one's going to come down to the last round of group games. So that will be very interesting to see who does get through in that. I would have to say that England, for me, has the upper hand. I think they're the most safe in that. But in terms of South Africa or New Zealand, that's an interesting one. Admittedly, now this is a good one. England still have to play against the Kiwis. That's going to be a crunch game because England have played South Africa. South Africa, New Zealand was a washout, but England have to play New Zealand. I believe if New Zealand lose that game, it might be very difficult for them. But yes, that is that from the Women's World Cup. The fourth round is going to be very interesting. The bottom teams, as they were, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and the West Indies, all 4 losses from 4 all, virtually out of the competition. As I've said before, Sri Lanka and Pakistan don't have the firepower in either discipline. West Indies, meek with the ball, rely on their batting, which has absolutely flopped in this tournament. But yes, the next few round of games will be very interesting to see who can grab those last few semi-final spots. That concludes the podcast though for today. If you did enjoy it, you can check it out, our previous episodes on SoundCloud, YouTube, and iTunes, and on Twitter. All the links to those platforms can be found in the next podcast. I will be talking about the 5th ODI between Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe, the 2020 between India and the West Indies, and the 5th round of group games in the Women's World Cup. Now, that is it for today, and as always, thanks for listening, and I'll see you later.